I've lived in small towns all my life, but nothing ever felt quite like Mill Creek. When I moved there 3 years ago, I thought it was perfect, quiet streets, kind people, and that old-fashioned sense of community that most places have lost. I got a job as the new school teacher. The air always smelled like fresh hay, and every house had pumpkins on the porch by October. The people of Mill Creek loved their traditions, especially the Harvest Festival. Everyone called it the heart of the town. They'd been celebrating it for over 100 years. A full weekend of music, food, dancing, and a giant corn maze behind the Miller farm. Every October, the whole town came together to thank the earth for a good harvest. It all sounded innocent enough, but I've learned that in Mill Creek, tradition is just another word for sacrifice. The first time I felt something was wrong was the night before the festival. I couldn't sleep, so I went for a walk. The moon was low, hanging like a sickle over the fields. I ended up near the corn maze, the one they built every year, behind the old Miller barn. The scarecrows were already up. Dozens of them. They stood in neat rows among the stalks, their heads made of burlap sacks, faces drawn with coal. Some wore old coats, others farmer hats. They looked harmless at first, until I noticed something. Their placement wasn't random. Like they were watching it. I remember whispering to myself, "That's weird," and hearing my voice tremble in the silence. Then I heard footsteps behind me, heavy boots crunching the dirt. It was Sheriff Tom Bennett, a tall man with a quiet way about him. He smiled when he saw me, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. "Evenin', Miss Ross," he said. "You shouldn't be out here this late." "The fields get strange at night." I asked what he meant, and he told me an old story about how Mill Creek was founded. He said the settlers who built the town made a bargain. They'd been starving, their crops failing, so they prayed for help, and something answered. Not a god, not a spirit of light, something older, something that lived beneath the soil. The deal was simple. Every harvest, they would give a part of themselves back to the land. Blood for bread, bones for grain. He said it with a half smile, like it was just folklore. I laughed it off that night, but I didn't forget it. The next evening, the festival started. Lanterns glowed along Main Street. Kids in costumes ran between the booths, and the air smelled like roasted corn and cinnamon. For a while, it was perfect, but then I noticed something that stopped me cold. The scarecrows, they weren't just in the field anymore. A few of them had been moved, one outside the bakery, another near the well, and a third by the church. Everyone said it was a prank, but when I walked past one, I swear I heard straw shifting inside, like it breathed. The thing's head was tilted slightly. That's when I told myself I was done with small-town weirdness for the night. I started walking home. The roads were empty. The music from the festival faded behind me. The only sound left was the rustle of the corn as the wind passed through. But the wind wasn't constant. It came in slow waves, and between them, I could still hear something moving. When I turned around, I saw one of the scarecrows standing at the edge of the field. At first, I thought maybe someone had dragged it there as another joke. But then, it stepped forward. The sound it made, that dry, creaking shuffle, I'll never forget it. And behind it, more figures began stepping out of the corn. 1, 2. They walked toward the road. I ran. I didn't stop until I reached the sheriff's office. I burst through the door, gasping for air. "Sheriff Bennett," I shouted. "They're moving, the scarecrows are moving." He looked at me like I'd lost my mind. But when he saw how pale I was, he grabbed his flashlight and told me to stay put. He walked out the door, into the dark street. I watched from the window as he shone his light toward the field. I saw his face change confusion, then fear. He stepped closer to one of the scarecrows near the well. That's when it grabbed him. The thing's arms snapped forward with unnatural speed, its straw hands clamped around his throat. I saw him struggle, saw the flashlight drop and roll across the dirt. Then I heard the sound like dry twigs breaking, and he stopped moving. When the scarecrow looked up, I saw his badge glinting in the moonlight, still pinned to its chest. That's when I knew these weren't scarecrows anymore. They were people. The next morning, the town was silent. The festival booths were empty. The fires from the night before were still smoldering. I didn't see a single person. I thought maybe everyone was hiding or maybe I was dreaming. But when I walked toward the cornfield, I saw movement. A group of townsfolk stood near the entrance. They were carrying something heavy bodies. They moved slow, chanting under their breath. I hid behind a fence post and listened. Their voices were low and rhythmic. Blood for bread, bones for grain. Each body they carried was impaled on a wooden stake and placed into the soil. Then the scarecrows came forward, wrapping the corpses in straw, sewing burlap over their faces. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't move. It hit me that this wasn't some new horror, it was a ritual. One that had been happening every year. The Harvest Festival wasn't a celebration. It was a cover, and every year, someone was chosen. I don't remember running into the maze, but somehow, I ended up there. The corn stretched so high it blotted out the sun. The whispering started again, faint at first, like 1,000 dry voices brushing against my ears. Feed the land. Then I saw it an open clearing with a dead tree in the center. Its branches were hung with small white shapes. I thought they were ornaments until I got closer. They were bones. Dozens of them. At the base of the tree was a stone plaque. The words were almost gone, but I could make them out. To those who sow in death, the harvest shall never end. The ground shifted beneath me. Hands started pushing through the dirt. Human hands, grey and skeletal. Then faces emerged. Old faces. Rotting. Some still wearing scraps of flannel and denim. They were the ones who came before the founders, the lost townsfolk, all the ones taken by the harvest. They surrounded me, whispering, "The harvest calls for one more." I turned to run, but they were everywhere, and standing among them were the scarecrows. One of them stepped forward and tore the burlap from its face. I saw the sheriff's pale eyes staring back at me. His mouth moved, but the voice wasn't his. "Join us, Evelyn." The last thing I remember was the sound of straw rustling like a field breathing all at once. They say the next morning, the Harvest Festival went on as if nothing had happened. The streets were spotless, the booths were open, the laughter returned. Nobody spoke about the missing. Nobody ever does. That year, a new scarecrow appeared in the field. It wore a faded dress that looked too much like mine, the same one I'd worn that night. Its straw hair hung loosely over its shoulders, and its head was tilted just slightly to the side, as if listening. The townsfolk said it was just part of the festival, a new decoration, a symbol of good luck for the coming harvest. But I know better. Every October, when the wind moves through the corn, it doesn't sound like wind anymore. It sounds like breathing, shallow, uneven, desperate. And if you stand close enough to that scarecrow, close enough to hear the straw shifting inside, you'll hear it too. A whisper, soft and broken, carried through the husks. The harvest never ends. People smile when they pass by it, taking pictures, not realizing what they're really looking at. They don't know the truth buried beneath the soil, that the fields of Mill Creek are fed by more than rain and sunlight. They don't know that the land still hungers. And sometimes, when the night grows quiet and the wind turns cold, I can almost feel the soil move above me. I can feel the roots curl around what's left of my bones. I can feel the earth whisper my name, because that scarecrow isn't a symbol. It's me, and I'm still here, watching, waiting, breathing with the field. The harvest never ends.